Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 2. The scene where Brutus and Antony make their respective speeches at the Forum, and the turning point in the play, where Antony wins the hearts of the masses and turns the tables against the conspirators, leading to a civil war between the conspirators and the triumvirate, that is Antony, Lepidus, and Octavius Caesar. In the end, the Republicans lose and monarchy continues. The scene starts with Brutus speaking to the masses and stating that he is going to give them reasons, explaining why they murdered Caesar. He asks Cassius to address some of the public, whereas he will address the rest. Perhaps in the absence of mics, they were not able to address the entire population at one go. And also, he gave an option to the people that those who wish to listen to Cassius can go there, and those who wish to listen to him. Brutus appeals to their intelligence and vouches with his honor, explaining that the only reason why he killed Caesar was because his love for Rome was greater than his love for Caesar. He said that if there is anyone out there who loved Caesar, he wants to tell that person that he couldn't have loved him more than he did. Meaning, no one can surpass him as far as his love for Caesar is concerned. And yet, he had to take this extreme step. And then he uses rhetorics to bring the people to his side of thinking. He asks if there's anybody out there so uncivilized who is willing to be a slave under Caesar. Is there anybody out there who does not have the Roman values? If there is anybody like that, then he would admit that he has offended that person by killing Caesar. Is there anybody out there who doesn't love his country? Of course, the public replied with a no, a unanimous no. And so he said that, then I don't see how I have offended anybody. He tells them that if ever he becomes a tyrant, then they have the right to kill him just like he killed Caesar. Brutus says that he's willing to sacrifice his life for Rome. But the public is pretty impressed by his speech and they tell him not to talk about dying. In fact, they want to elevate him to the position of a Caesar. They want to take out a celebratory procession all the way to his house. But Brutus asks them to stay back and listen to Antony's speech while he has to go for some important work. And that's when Antony enters with the dead body. Now, Brutus said that Antony's aim here would be to praise Caesar on his funeral. And the public isn't really interested in listening to any praises of Caesar. They have already been brainwashed into believing that he was a tyrant. So Antony begins his speech by stating that he loved Caesar, but he's not going to praise him, which is not true because he is going to praise him indirectly. Now, the dialogues which Antony is going to say are a master stroke. He's an expert orator and a superb manipulator. He is going to appeal to the public's emotions. First, he questions this statement by the conspirators that Caesar was ambitious. He says that if he was truly ambitious, then why would he always try to increase the treasury of Rome for the welfare of the people after every war? I mean, in exchange for the prisoners that he would capture after every war, he would ask for a ransom, a huge sum. And whenever he saw poor people, he would weep. An ambitious person should be made of some sterner stuff. And most importantly, during the Feast of Lupercal, he had thrice rejected the crown which was presented to him by Antony. If he was ambitious, then why did he behave like that? But then let's assume that he was ambitious because Brutus says so, and Brutus is an honorable man. Now that was sarcastic. Next, he says that he has found a document in Julius Caesar's study. It's his will. It has been signed and sealed by him, so it's genuine. He says that if I read it out to show how much he loved you all, you would be so moved that you would go and kiss his wounds. You would dip your handkerchiefs in his blood and keep it as a badge of honor. You would keep a hair of Caesar and keep it in your legacy for your children and grandchildren who would value it as the hair of the noblest person of Rome. But then he pretends and says that, oh, I'm sorry, I should not have brought up the topic of the will. I'm not supposed to read it. Forget it. I don't want any injustice to be done against the conspirators. If injustice is just done against y'all or against me or against Caesar, that's okay. But nothing unjust should happen to Brutus because Brutus is an honorable man. At this time, the public's curiosity has been increased and Antony's tease has worked. They want him to read the will, but he asks them to have patience. Then he starts guilt-tripping all these people, asking them that they used to love him. So why are they not mourning on his death? He uses nostalgia and tells them that he remembers the cloak which Julius Caesar is wearing. It was first worn when he fought against the Nervi. He shows them the wounds and says that this is the wound where the malicious Casca pierced his dagger. That one is a wound created by Cassius, and this one is a wound created by Brutus. And Brutus attacking Caesar was so shocking that even the blood of Caesar would ooze out of the wound to check, is it truly Brutus who is betraying Caesar? But whatever they have done is right because they are honorable men. At this point, the public, they want to take revenge against Caesar. But Antony does not want to leave a single stone unturned. He knows how fickle-minded the public is. So he wants to completely brainwash them before they start a revolt against the conspirators. So now he pretends to be very innocent and says that I'm not an eloquent speaker like Brutus is. He speaks amazingly. I speak in a very simple language. I'm not trying to instigate y'all. I'm just speaking the facts here. And the fact is that if Brutus would have been in my place and would have been speaking right now, then your blood would have boiled and you would have taken revenge. At this time, the public says that we will take revenge. We will bury Caesar's body with honor and use the burning sticks and burn the house of Brutus. And now the final nail in the coffin of the conspirators, he starts reading out the will. He says that Caesar said after his death, the entire wealth should be distributed among the citizens of Rome, which is 75 drachmas per person. The drachma is a silver coin. That's a big amount in today's terms as well. Not only that, his walks, his gardens, his groves, all of them will be opened for the public use. That's how he cemented the idea in the public mind, the public imagination, and they set forth for a civil war. And then when Antony is all alone, he speaks with mischief, stating, now you are afoot, now you can do whatever you wish to. And just like he had predicted earlier, he knows that there's going to be a lot of violence now. At that time, informs that Octavius Caesar has now arrived at Caesar's palace. He's already with Lepidus making plans. They have even seen Brutus and Cassius running away through the gates of Rome because they must have been informed about the mass hysteria against them. So Antony decides to go and join them. Hi students, this is AJ sir. If you found this video useful, press the like button. Also, if you'd like to enroll for my test series or online lectures, email me or message me on Instagram. Check my description for more information.